Juyi gets a lot of interest in his work, mainly because of his great prolixity. He was a very prolific poet. He wrote a lot. And you can criticize people who do that, artists who are constantly producing stuff, and sometimes other artists, especially, will be a little bit skeptical. Like, well, yeah, but you're always producing stuff. How much of it is really good? Well, it's hard to go through much of his work and not find something going on in each one of his poems. However occasional or haphazard the composition might have been, he certainly didn't suffer from a lot of writer's block. He didn't seem to struggle too much with having something to say. But there's a definite skill going on in everything that he writes, and there's the individual poems themselves often have some curious points that are very reflective of the time. And he is coming about in the some of the later Tang years. He was not. He could level some social criticism. It was very tumultuous years, but still, there's a very distinct personal voice that comes through. He takes a shot at some of the he takes a shot at social criticism with the salt merchant's wife. He levels some pretty scathing indictments of certain elements of society that he sees profiting off of, basically exploiting their position. The salt merchants are able to control bits of the market that takes a lot of money, skims off the top from people who can barely afford to sacrifice anything, and they do it essentially at the expense of not just the individuals they're ripping off, but also by skimming off the top. Not quite reporting it to the government, to the imperial government, so often. So there is that very much that sense of this is pure corruption, and he takes that to task, but he does it specifically at this character that he creates of the salt merchant's wife. Maybe this was originally a person, a real person that he had a particular beef with. Who knows? But it is curious to me that he singles out the salt merchant's wife as a symbol of corruption. The salt merchant's wife has silk and gold aplenty, but she does not work at farming, nor does she spin the silk. From north to south, to east to west, she never leaves her home. Wind and water's her native land, her lodging is the boat. Once she came from Yangzhou, a humble family's child. She married herself a merchant, a great one from Jiangxi. Her glinting hair coils have grown rich there, golden pins abound. Her gleaming wrists have gotten plump, her silver bracelets tight. On one side she shouts to her servants, on the other yells at her maids. I ask you, how does this happen that you came to live like this? Her husband has been a salt merchant for 15 years now, attached to no country or province, attached to the emperor. Every year when salt profits are to enter official hands, the lesser part goes to officials, the greater part goes to himself. Official profits are meager, private profits are rich. The Secretary of Iron and Salt is far and does not know. Better still, here on the river, where fish and rice are cheap, with pink fillets and oranges and meals of fragrant rice. Having eaten her fill in thick makeup, she leans by the cabin aft. Both of her rosy cheeks are buds about to bloom. This salt merchant's wife was lucky to marry a merchant. All day long, fine food to eat. All year long, good clothes. But good clothes and fine food have to come from somewhere, and she would be struck with shame before some Sang Hung Yang. But Sang Hung Yang died many years ago. This happened not in the Han alone. It happens also now. Now, on the surface, this this kind of smacks a little of misogyny. He is taking the salt merchant's wife out to the woodshed, but he's really not dwelling too much on the salt merchant himself. The salt merchant seems to be, in this little scene, the prime mover of the corruption. He is the one who seems to be when salt profits are to enter official hands, the lesser part goes to officials, the greater part goes to himself. He is the corrupt person here. There is no indication that the salt merchant's wife has any particular control over the business aspect of what they're doing, but she is singled out as the locus of the evil. She is painted literally, saying that, well, she wears so much makeup and she's eating all the time. She likes fine clothes and good food. When she has eaten her fill, her wrists have grown plump. She is characterized in a really she is, let's just say, she is made to look like she is in charge here, and she makes a good evil character in that. She doesn't do anything. She just sits there, and and where did she, and what did she do to get all this? Well, she married someone. It seems to be playing on, quite frankly, a lot of tropes about women and the power that they hold in a relationship. And that they are making the men bad, or they are somehow worse than their husbands, even though their husbands are actually doing the corrupt dealings. But maybe that's a little bait and switch. The poem ends with the warning that, and it's not just the previous administration. It's not just the Han era that they're concerned with, where all of these bad things were going on. He's saying it's happening now. So after this entire poem, where he seems to be objectifying and ostracizing the woman is the bad one. She is the evil one. At the end, it's not that. He moves the focus more to a self-reflective mode. So after singling out and getting everybody to say, yeah, she's the bad one, that's it, we can objectify it, we can distance ourselves from it, we can condemn it because it is so isolated and specific. But at the end, he says, no, it's happening now too. In other words, it's us. It's all of us. Corruption infects all of us, and you can't just single it out in one person, even if we can make that person such a blatant caricature. It's interesting. He has a fun poem on my portrait where he sees a picture of himself, and it sort of doesn't sit quite well with him. And of course, in reaction to that work of art, he has to produce another work of art. And he seems to be playing with this notion a little bit. I didn't even know my own face. Then Li Fang painted my portrait true. Observe with dispassion the spirit and frame. This has to be some mountain man. Wood of willow and cane soon decay. The heart of a deer is hard to tame. Why then, in the palace's red plazas, have I waited 5 years on his majesty? And worse, my too stiff and inflexible nature cannot join the world and wallow in its dirt. These features not only foretell no honors, I fear in them because that will bring my ruin. Best resign and depart, the sooner the better. Withdraw this body fit for clouds and streams. It's a moment of self-reflection. He is looking back on his life of late and saying, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time. Why am I waiting on His Majesty? Why am I wasting my energies on this day job? I should be doing something better. I should be doing something more. And who hasn't had that experience? Who hasn't had that doubt, that feeling of frustration and guilt? And good God, is that really what my life is? These features not only foretell no honors I fear in them, cause that will bring my ruin. Normally, the sitting of a portrait would be an occasion of, wow, I'm really important. Wow, I am so good looking. And I would imagine that anybody painting a portrait or sketching a portrait or producing a portrait of you is, if he's being paid, he's maybe gonna shave a couple of the wrinkles off and get rid of a blemish or two, make you look just a little bit better. So this guy is looking and saying, no, that's 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 not what I want to look like. He has this notion of himself that seems to be shocked at what he really looks like. He says, this has to be some mountain man. He looks so primitive. He looks so crude. But he also reflects in the same thing that he has waited 5 years in the palace's red plazas, which is very refined. So there's a contrast between perhaps the image and the reality, or what he imagines the reality or the image to be. He is frustrated, confronting an image of some reality, and he's wondering if it is true. Painted my portrait true? Now, he is reflecting on art. Is the art accurate? The conflict between the mountain man and the refined plazas makes you wonder, well, okay, what is the real image that he cuts in the world? What is his real character? Is there anything to it that could be reflective of real character? Because this is all art. We don't know what his character is. He probably doesn't even really have a full grasp of what his character is. He has intimations of it, and just like we can have some intimations of it. But it is different from the superficial perspective of the art. And this sort of collapses in on itself as you think about it. Both of these poems, I think, specifically, are intriguing. The portrait one and the rice one, because they reflect a very frustrated and painful gap between an ideal and a reality. The ideal in the salt merchant, the ideal of honest dealing, of good government, of virtuous commerce, at least, versus the reality of corruption. And here the ideal of what he might have had in his mind of, oh, well, this is what I look like. And then the reality when he sees the portrait, or that switch between the reality, between what he knows to be the truth and the image or the idealism of that portrait. He's turning this idea around, the idea of representational accuracy, the idea of truth itself. How can we know something is true? How can we have any faith in what something purports to be when the superficial image of something is so divorced often from any recognizable element of truth? And then perhaps this quiet little moment that I personally find really moving, and the drama of it, of course, is the title, Last Poem, and the legend of the legend is that he was so prolific, he was writing on his deathbed, and that's what this purports to be. Whether or not it is, I don't know, but it is a very it's a very quiet poem, and there's a lot of drama in no drama about it. They have put my bed beside the unpainted screen. They have shifted my stove in front of the blue curtain. I listen to my grandchildren reading me a book. I watch the servants heating up my soup, With rapid pencil I answer the poems of friends. I feel in my pockets and pull out medicine money. When this superintendence of trifling affairs is done, I lie back on my pillows and sleep with my face to the south. It's so quiet. It's so humble. The kind of nothing to see here thing is palpable. They have put my bed beside the unpainted screen, meaning he's just sort of incidental. He's just at this point in his life, which is obviously coming to a close. There are other things going on in the world, and well, okay, we're just gonna put him off in the corner there, get him a little out of the way. They have shifted my stove in front of the blue curtain. Is that to keep him warm as he's as he is drifting off, or are they moving the stove further away? It's a little uncertain. Uh, Maybe. I listen to my grandchildren reading me a book, which is such a sweet little moment. Just all right, time is short, and he's just going to enjoy. And the young kids are over, and they're just going to read to him, and he's going to listen. He's not really going to pay attention, but he's going to be just looking at them and thinking about, okay, that is a kind of continuation right there. I'm coming to a close, but they're here, and that is how I have made my mark, so to speak, perhaps more than even on a personal level to him, more than even his poetry. Maybe that's just being sentimental, but that's kind of how the poem seems to be leading you to believe, because it's so quiet and simple throughout. You have to intuit some of the emotion. With rapid pencil, I answer the poems of friends. It's rapid because he's figuring, all right, these every last word might be the last word. I have to get this out. I have so much more to say. He's so prolific. He doesn't want to write a last poem, and yet he is in the act of this. So again, I'm not sure exactly how to place this. Was he still answering his friends after he finished this particular poem? I don't know. That seems suspicious, but also a little bit beside the point. What you have is all of these simple, mundane moments, these simple, ordinary, unremarkable moments that happen in a hospice situation, that happen on a deathbed, where it's kind of dull, where there's not much going on. You're just sort of waiting, and he lies back on his pillows and sleep with his face to the south, which is a sense of he's just waiting, and it's coming. He knows death is imminent, and so he's taken note of everything in his life, and he's done what he has to do, and he's done. He's written his poems. He's thought about his family. He's done all the little things that he has to do, and now it's just the inevitability.